Hi, everyone, and welcome. As part of our mental health awareness campaign this month, we're having some real conversations with people about mental health, especially the challenges that are often overlooked. And today I'm joined by Gareth. You're the Chief Operating Officer at Signal Biz Hub, is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Brilliant. And we're here to talk about something incredibly important, and that is the stigma around men's mental health, and also how mental health can affect business owners as well. So, in this interview today, we're going to talk about the pressures that men face and how it impacts their mental well-being, and why having these open conversations really matter, both in life and in business. So, Gareth, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
That's good. That's good. Do you want to tell us a bit more about yourself and your background, what you do, just briefly?
So obviously, I work for Signal as the Chief Operations Officer. Very exciting. And then my job is basically to sort of obviously manage the operations of the business, support business owners. I am the mental health first aider for Signal, which I quite enjoy. And yeah, that's pretty much me
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's interesting. I didn't know you were the mental health first aider. That's
Yes.
point. Oh, yeah. So previously, myself and Gareth had a conversation, and something that we spoke about was the Roman Kemp documentary called Our Silent Emergency. So, Gareth, what impact did that documentary have on you personally, and why do you think it struck such a chord?
The thing is, it struck such a chord because it is like a silent killer. I mean, I think it hit really hard, and it put into focus the actual emergency that we are facing around mental health in particular. Seeing someone who is in the public eye open up so massively about how mental health has affected himself, but also how it obviously affected sort of the main person in the documentary. I think it was real hard hitting and really important for that because it highlighted the struggles that most of us have but don't vocalize.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think it, even when I was watching it, I was quite, it made me think. It was very thought-provoking as well for myself because it highlighted the fact that Roman Kemp, obviously, he had his friend, and his friend, he saw his friend almost every day, and he never knew there was anything going on. He was clearly battling with something that, from an outside perspective, wasn't obvious. And that, I guess, is the emergency. This is what people deal with on a day-to-day basis. And the idea, or the reality actually, that you don't know what someone's going through, even if you're close to them, they could still be struggling. And that's a scary thought, really.
Oh God, really scary because it literally one day someone can be here and then the next day they're not, and you then have that questioning, and a lot like Roman did. He was like, well, was there anything I could have done, or why didn't I notice this? It's the mental health of the people that are affected, but then obviously the follow on of the people that are left behind from a situation like that. It's very very hard to deal with, and yeah, it's not something that we need to push under the carpet. It's something we need to bring to the forefront. The easiest tip I picked up from watching that documentary was ask twice.
Oh, you stole my point.
I stole your point, right? I could see it in your brain, but yeah, ask twice. I think that is literally, people always, if you turn around and someone goes, "Oh, how you doing?" Everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm okay," and then that's it. You move on. If you then ask again, it forces people to actually open up a bit and actually say, oh, actually, do you know what? Really not that great today, or this has happened. And yeah, I think it was fantastic. I actually did when I watched the documentary, it inspired me. So I actually went on to then Facebook Live and I did like a video basically almost saying I've watched this documentary and actually we need to be more open about this, and literally said I've had moments where I'm terrible, and I'm terrible at work and things aren't happening. And anyway, so I put it out there just as a let's try and spark some conversation, and I had loads of people reach out to me that were either were like, you can come and talk to us if you're struggling. And I was like, that's great. I'm all right at the moment. This was more just a video to highlight. But then equally had people that reached out to me that were like, you know what, actually, I have been struggling, or oh, I'm feeling a bit down. So yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, it's fascinating when we do have these conversations, what that opens up to. As you said, people will come forward and then start speaking about their experiences and how they're feeling. And it's almost like there's that safe space that is created for someone to voice how they're feeling without judgment. That's something really important, actually. And as well, in the documentary that we're speaking about, something that Roman Kemp actually picked up on as well, because he went to kind of he met with different individuals who have also lost friends to depression, and such illnesses. He mentioned that actually within the friendship groups, the one thing that was common was that they didn't speak about these things. And again, as I've said, it highlights the importance of doing so, because one of the boys on there who were interviewed said maybe if we had spoken about it, we could have been there, because they didn't know that their friend was struggling, but they would have been there for them. And he was sat saying, now it's too late. I wish I'd said this and I wish that. But it wasn't his fault, because he didn't know. That conversation was never had.
No, 100%. I actually have something. I've got a very close group of friends, and I think everyone struggles with their mental health, but we have friends in the friend group that really struggle with it, and we make sure that everything is open. The other day, one of my friends turned around to me and went, "I'm having a bit of a we call it a brain thing or a down thing," and we were like, "Okay, what's up?" And then so it is about in that kind of friendship group or the people around you making that kind of safe space so that you can turn around and go, do you know what, I'm not having a great day today,
Mm.
and it's not a thing that you need to worry about, the judgment and anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also, I did a bit of research, the NHS, and actually it says that only 36% of NHS talking therapy referrals are for men, and many still struggle in silence due to perhaps cultural influences or societal pressures that almost, as we talked about, this stigma around men's mental health, that oh, man up kind of saying. And oh, boys don't cry, men don't cry. You're supposed to be their provider, supposed to be the strong one, but they're humans. I mean,
Yeah, oh God, 100%.
what do you think about that?
I agree. I think a big part of it is to do with how we're raised. So obviously, I think from a young age, you're taught either subtly or sometimes very unsubtly that showing any sign of emotion is a form of weakness. And like you said, you hear the things like "man up," "don't cry," or "just get on with it." And I think those phrases have such an impact, and they stick that over time they shape how you then deal with emotions when you're an adult. And it's so often that vulnerability gets equated with failure. So if you're being vulnerable, then you're failing. And obviously that leads us to then avoid doing any of the emotions rather than embracing it. And I think you're right. Men are seen not so much now, and I think it is coming down, but you still have that kind of ingrained kind of societal thing that men are the leaders and they're the providers. Man get food and man do fire, and that's what we have to do. But it just adds then I think an extra layer of pressure to them for that. So when you then feel from a man's perspective that people rely on you because you've got to go out and work and earn the money and you've got to do this, and if things aren't going well, obviously it builds up, but then you can't go, oh well, and my job is I've got to go and earn the money and I've got to make sure that my family is provided for, or and then if I'm not doing that, well, I can't tell my family that because now I'm not providing. I'm not the superhero of the family. I'm now a weak person that needs support. And I think that's the problem. That's the view that is sort of, I think, ingrained into most of us, either male or female. I think from a female perspective, you almost have the reverse of that. So I think it's just very, very hard to ban through that, I think.
Yeah, quite often, more so in the past now, men's value has kind of been attached to, okay, how much money can they earn, what are they doing for work, and this can also, that kind of pressure as well can just pile up because it's the expectation that, okay, men are only valuable if they go out and work and if they can be strong, but that's not true. Why is it that men's value is based on what they have, whereas women are just born with value? It's things like that and attitudes like that which don't help, because as you said, like, men then feel like they can't speak up because they're going to be viewed as less masculine, but that's not the case at all. There's strength in speaking up and in help.
100%, 100%. I think that this is it. And I think there is a shift coming into that. I think there's the brand, I think it's Men Have Feelings Too, I think is the brand name. So I think that it is becoming more to the forefront. But there is still, unfortunately, a lot of I've seen videos on TikTok, not that I should watch TikTok, but I've seen videos on TikTok, they're interviewing people, and obviously they're extreme cases, but like, oh, if the man doesn't earn 100K, then I'm not interested. Or, if I saw my man crying, then I think obviously you have the problem where, although we're pulling ourselves out of this kind of crushing civilization that we have, you then still have you start to feel like, okay, maybe I can talk about my feelings, and then you get hit left field by something that's like, oh well, if you cry, then that's it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's good that it's being embraced, and there is the shift. But I think there is definitely a lot of work to unpick. I mean, you're talking, this is hundreds and hundreds of years of societal thinking to change. But
Yeah, yeah. And this is more of a personal question to you then. Have you ever felt pressure to appear tough or emotionally unaffected in your personal or professional life? And if you have, how have you gone about that? How have you managed it?
I mean, literally, yes. I mean, I think on a daily basis, you have it from, even if you go back to just being at school. If you got upset at school or something, and then instantly you'd be then ostracized and picked on, and all of that. So I think every person, male or female, it's not in particular, but I think very much if you it's the reaction that you get from other people that changes the way that you think. I can't actually think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably one time at school, something was going on at home, or there was something, and I was upset about it. And then you're upset to your friends at that point, and their reaction is to, I don't know, laugh at you or do something. Well, now the next time, and I know I've thought this way, the next time I then think, oh, I'm upset. Well, I'm not gonna say anything to those guys, because they're just gonna make me feel worse about myself and feel stupid for feeling the way that I feel. And I think that then it's almost like it amplifies that one small thing, like a phobia. A spider crawls on you, you go, oh, okay, you brush it off, and then it's gone. But then, okay, now I'm thinking, oh, well, I didn't like the spider on me. So now next time the spider gets on me, it's going to be a bigger thing again, and then a bigger thing. And obviously then it builds up and it builds up until suddenly you can't even be in a room where there's, a spider
Mm.
5 meters away from you. And I think it's that kind of thing.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, even speaking to some of my male friends in the friendship group, I know they pretty much have all felt like there were times where they weren't doing well, but they couldn't say. And even having deeper conversations with them, trying to understand, okay, why did you feel that way? It's more because they didn't want to be painted in a certain light, or again, as we spoke about, they didn't want to appear as if they weren't strong, because I think that whole provider role, it's they want to be the ones people can come to and say, oh, I'm not feeling good. And if they then express that they're not feeling good, it's like, well, hang on a minute. Now what? What's going on? But I mean, again, it's just understanding. I just try my best to understand what's going on and why people don't feel comfortable, and how can we create a community or a safe space for them so that they can feel comfortable. So
Oh God, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think as a culture, I think it is very damaging to everything as a culture. It teaches men to suppress the emotion as opposed to express it. So then you end up bottling it up, and it's not about not just not crying and I'm hiding the tears. It can then go on to many things, especially with it, like got burnout, fear, exhaustion, all of these things, normal emotions that it's just at the moment deemed not okay. The perception is that it's deemed not okay for a man to have burnout and be like, "Oh, do you know what, I'm just so tired." And then obviously that then leads to us not talking about it, which then leads to isolation. And obviously the isolation, and that leads to the mental health going down and declining. So right, we need a safe space where it's okay for people, men in particular, to go, I'm not okay, and not have the fear of the judgment that comes with it. Because I think that's a lot of it. It's the fear. Because even talking to you, I'm happy to be very open, and I don't have fear that I'm going to be judged because obviously we're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
It would be pretty bad if you were like, "Oh, yeah, I've said this." But by the same token, I still have in my head, even talking now, okay, well, I'm going to get judged for saying this,
Mm, mm.
even though I know I'm not, but you have that kind of subconscious little voice just in the back of your head going like, oh, people are going to think of you differently now.
Yeah. No, I do understand that on a certain level as well. I think I can't say that because then I'm going to be viewed as this, and they're going to think I'm this and that. But it
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't define you. If you're struggling, you talk about it. That's it's everyone struggles, as you said. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of life, sadly, but it is. Um, and I think the reason why, as well, we wanted to focus on specifically men's mental health is I don't know if you've seen the stats for the most common cause of death, actually, for men is suicide. And I was shocked. Actually, I was shocked because there's a lot of, I guess, health issues, physical health issues that you'd think, okay, maybe it would be this or that. But no, it's suicide, and
Yeah.
especially for men under 50. So that again presents another an issue here. Why? Why? But
I mean, this is it. There's no endless. I think a lot of it is the fact that they feel like they can't be open. I mean, I've had down days. I'm just over 30 years old, which is young in comparison.
yeah.
However, to me, I still have the mentality of like a 16-year-old. So to me, a 30-year-old is like, well, past it, like gone. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm there. And then you have the moments where you go, okay, well, my view as a child was someone who's 30 is going to be married, have kids, have a good paying job, live in a detached house with 4 bedrooms with a white picket fence and a dog that runs around. And then obviously you look back and you go, well, I've not got any of that. Like I'm not, I mean, that's not what I want now anyway, which is good. But still, you have the, well, I've not achieved any of what I feel like society wants me to have. So therefore I'm a failure. And I don't know how to then get to where I then want to be that. And you're like, okay, that's great. So I'm now middle aged and not where I should be based on what I think society's perception should be. And I think that's a lot of the cause of it. It's the kind of the expectation of what and it is all to do with self. So it's not even necessarily that people have gone, this is what you have to do. This is the blueprint. Here's the checklist. You need to tick it off. It's a checklist that I've created in my head
Mm,
that says this is what I have to be a proper adult. And it's then the pressures that I then put on myself because I think people are also working on the same checklist and then going, oh, look at Gareth. Look, I mean, oh God, he's 32 and I mean, he doesn't have a dog.
yeah.
When in reality, no one cares.
No, exactly. I was going to say,
Yeah.
you think a lot of these pressures are external, but actually, I think the biggest ones, we're often the biggest critique of ourselves. The biggest pressures we face are the ones we put on ourselves. But actually, it's almost to, like you said, conform to society's standards. but it's funny because no one cares.
Yeah.
I've never sat there and been like, oh, my friend doesn't have a dog or my friend doesn't have this house. I don't care because I'm here struggling with certain things that people not necessarily know. Again, that's another conversation, okay? I can speak about that, but I'm not thinking about what people do or don't have. It just doesn't come to my mind, and that's just the reality of it. So it doesn't, yeah, them internal pressures can also be huge. But just I think more does need to be done to encourage these safer communities and speaking. And it's interesting because the government has actually launched or is about to launch its first ever men's health strategy, which
Okay.
something I was shocked at because why is it the first time they're launching it? No comment. But they're calling for evidence now. So they're in the process of gathering the evidence to kind of tackle the biggest health problems that men face. One of them being obviously the mental health and trying to reduce that number of the highest suicide rates being men to improve the healthcare for men, but for everyone in general. And have you heard of, I don't know how to pronounce it, Movember?
Movember, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So actually, this health strategy. It's held in partnership with Movember, co-hosted by Arsenal. If there's any Arsenal fans, and the Premier League.
Yeah.
Which I think it's brilliant. It's great that they're trying to address these needs now and that they can put together a strategy with evidence to inform that strategy. I think that's really good. It shows that there's things that are being done and it's being taken serious now, which is it's good.
100%. I do think that our country is great for certain things. The NHS, fantastic. We have access to healthcare when we need it. The problem is mental health and people's mental health in general has always been looked at as another thing. And, I remember I was looking to try and I was having a low point and I was looking at trying to get some counseling. I I didn't want to go and pay £60 an hour to speak to someone when I didn't know what I wanted. So I was like, well, I'll speak to the GP, see if I can get referred. And the GP was like, oh, that's fine. I'll put you in touch with these people. The people were great, but the problem was I had to go on a waiting list. And it was 8 weeks before I then got a phone call from someone to then go, okay, right, we're then going to do the work and whatever. And this is what we recommend. And you can speak to this person. And I was like, okay. And then I had to wait another 3 weeks before then the appointment. So already I'm like 3 months past the point where I was like, hi, I need some help here. I'm 3 months down the line. And again, it's not the organization's problems, but the organization was like, so we give you 6 sessions of an hour. I'm like, okay. And then we take it from there. And I was like, okay, so what happens if, because then I was like, well, okay, if we start unpicking something and suddenly I get like a massive childhood trauma that comes to light that leaves me as a broken human, we're not going to solve that in 6 sessions.
Yeah.
What happens then? And they were like, well, you have to get re-referred to then carry on in the program, and then you would then get another 6 sessions. And I'm like, so effectively, if it's not something that's a quick fix that I can deal with in 6 sessions, which with mental health, when is it ever? That I potentially I'm going to do the 6 sessions. I'm going to be even more broken by the end of it because you're going to have unearthed something, and then I'm going to have to wait another 3 months before I can then speak to someone again. I was like, it's just not the infrastructure's not there.
Yeah, that definitely, there's a lot of room for improvement there, I think, because I recently did an interview with someone and they said when they need help, when someone needs help, they don't need it in 3 months' time. They need it now. And it's the accessibility and the availability of this help because he ended up going to an organization who offer free help within get a response within, I think it was 24 or 48 hours, and someone will see you, a trained psychiatrist will see you within that week. And that's brilliant. But people don't know that there are services out there
No,
like that. I didn't know that. I've had a similar experience to you. I went to the NHS for help, put me on a waiting list, and it's like, I need help now, not wait, because I didn't know I didn't have another choice. I felt like I didn't have another choice. But yeah, it's yeah, a lot of room for improvement there for sure. I just want to move on actually to kind of the business ownership and mental health side of things now. And running a business comes with a lot of pressure and isolation. I would know that.
Yes.
I mean, what toll has kind of that taken on your mental health over the years, if it?
Oh, gosh, literally, you're talking like a roller coaster. I mean, there are times, so I work for Signal, but I also have businesses that I run on the side because who doesn't want lots of pressure? And you have those moments of like loneliness and anxiety, like things can be going well one minute and then really bad the next minute. And normally, if you're running a business, you're solo running a business, it's not often there are 5.5 million businesses in the UK that are propping up the economy, shall we say, and at least half of those would be like solo people. They run a business that's basically just them. They may have someone that comes in and does the admin, but predominantly it's just them. And there's no one that you can turn around to and go, well, I'm having a bad day, or this has just happened. And that can then feel very suffocating because, I mean, as a business owner, you carry the weight of if you do have staff, you've got to pay your staff. I've got to make this business work and earn money because Joe Bloggs, who does my admin for me, he's got a wife and kids that he needs to feed. So if I don't do well in my job and my business goes under, then he's then going to get affected, which means his family's then on the streets. And then and obviously the list goes on and the spirals. And then you've got your customers that you've got a service that you provide that's integral. Let's say that you provide latex gloves for a nursing home and you go out of business. Now that nursing home doesn't have the latex gloves, which means they then can't perform. And obviously then everything piles on. And because it's your business, like if the business fails, it's your failure. That's the perception.
Yeah, immense pressure. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I think
Yes.
if some people, if they don't run the business or a business, they wouldn't really be able to understand all the pressure that comes with it. To a certain extent, they might have an idea, but until you're in that position, you really, how could you know? You know? But yeah, what are some of these silent struggles that you think business owners might be facing? I know you mentioned some of them there, but are there any more?
I think sort of the silent struggles is the fact that people that run businesses don't have a support network. I think that is the biggest hitter for business owners and their mental health because and it comes again down to that kind of societal thinking. If I'm a business owner and I'm running a business and I turn around to someone and go, oh, I'm struggling or I've had a bad month, the view is, well, that person's going to think my business isn't stable. So they're going to go elsewhere. So I'm going to lose that business. Or if I tell my staff members this is happening, then they're going to be worrying. And then maybe they go, oh, well, the business isn't working. So maybe I'll jump ship now before. So I've then secured in case anything happens. So I think the one of the biggest struggles for business owners is not having someone or a place that they can actually kind of open up and go, do you know what? I've had a really bad month this month. I've got no customers in, or I've just lost a big client, and there's not many places out there. Silent plug for Signal Biz Hub. That's exactly why we created it, is that there's the community of business owners that it's not about what turning up and putting on the face facade, being like, ah, yes, wow, I make six figures a year and look at my lovely Ferrari that I drive and everything's great. When in reality, it's not. It's the having that safe space to then turn around and go, I'm having troubles today, or I'm stuck on this, or something's happening. I think that is one of the kind of the biggest things out there, that and burnout in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that, to be honest. Yes, that again, it's the fear of no judgment. You don't want to be judged and you don't want to cause panic and fear, instill that fear in other people as well. And again, where do you turn? But I think it's brilliant what Signal Biz Hub's doing, that community feel. I think we're part of Signal Biz.
You are, yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's something I can utilize a lot more actually. So it's helpful knowing that.
So I think there are some other silent struggles that business owners also face. So financial stress, decision fatigue, sleepless nights, all of these things, that kind of pressure of always having to be on, obviously takes a very emotional toll on people. I mean, it would be on anyone, but especially when you're running a business that you care about as well. And I think people tie in the sort of the identity of the business becomes you become the business. So obviously if that has any setback, then obviously you're then deeply going to get affected by any setback that you have because it feels personal rather than business related.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know about you, but even I'm speaking for myself here. When from when I set up this Plenty of Stuff studio and other businesses that I'm in the process of, I cannot stop thinking about it. So it's like when even if I'm going out for relaxation, say I'm at the spa and relaxing, I'll suddenly get this thought pop into my head. Oh my goodness, I didn't send this email. Oh my gosh, tax this. Oh my gosh, I need to message this person. I didn't do this. And then it becomes a massive list. And I can no longer relax because I'm thinking about all the millions of things I didn't do or need to do. But then that list as a business owner, it's ongoing. It never stops. And I find that quite difficult to deal with actually, because again, it's things that do genuinely, legitimately need to be done, but it's finding a way to manage everything and almost prioritize, okay, is it really that urgent? And is that person really going to be thinking this? And as you've mentioned as well, I think the fear of failure is huge. It weighs upon me quite a lot. I think, oh, if I don't do that, so and so's watching and that's they're gonna. But actually, it comes back to that thing. They're not actually watching. They're busy with their life. They're busy maybe running their business or with their life. That's it. But that's I think that's another struggle. The struggle to switch off from everything that it's going on.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I've been in that situation. And then you also then have the counter where you're then in the situation, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna switch off. Like that's great. And then suddenly it's like ping, 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 ping. And then you have all these ideas, and then you fight with yourself, like, no, I've said I'm gonna switch off, I'm gonna stop thinking about it. And then you go, oh, but what if I then forget about what I've just thought about? So I don't remember that for tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna have to make a note of that, but then being so run down and tired that I then don't have the motivation to then do it. So you're constantly fighting the inner demons. You've got the one being like, no, do it, push, 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 and the other one being like, I'm so tired. I just want to stop. And yeah, there's no winning that, unfortunately.
Just have to learn how to manage that in the most effective way. But yeah, no, it almost like knowing as well, I'm not the only one or business owner that's going through that. And that's why, like you said, community is so important because when you're perhaps surrounded by people who again don't own businesses, they can't relate, you can sit there and think, oh, well, why am I feeling like this? And oh, like why am I so stressed and why am I so burnt out? And why won't my brain shut off? But then when you are surrounded by a community of people who can resonate with how you're feeling, they can relate because they've been there, they've done that, but they can also help you with kind of tactics and ways to manage how you're feeling because they've also implemented certain coping mechanisms, let's say.
Oh
And
God, yeah, 100%. I mean, I had it. I started up a business that unfortunately didn't succeed, but I started up a business just after COVID, which was a pizzeria, lovely. And I was not in a good place. I shouldn't have. I'd gone in with some other people to start the business. I'd just broken my leg from a skydiving accident. I'd been off work for 6 months, like unable to move. And then I was like, ah, I'm bored. Let's start a business. Really, really not a good idea. And then, so he was struggling to get it off the ground. And I say, unfortunately, food and beverage was not great and is not a great business to get into for many reasons. And I was working the 9 to 5. So that, but then in the morning, I was trying to then manage all the other businesses that I have. Then I'd then have to go, I'd literally walk out of my job at 5 o'clock go straight to the pizzeria. And because we were then getting staff and training people, I was then working in the pizzeria trying to do that whilst on crutches because I couldn't walk properly. So I'm running around the kitchen on crutches. I'd be then finishing at like half 11, 12 o'clock at night. Then I'd have to go home, try and rest. And anytime I try and talk to people that weren't business related through no fault of their own, they didn't understand it. They just didn't get it. And they're like, well, why are you doing that to yourself? Why don't you just stop? Like, just give it up. And you're like, yeah, yeah, but I mean, I can't because if I just stop, then it's definitely not going to work. And, then I've invested this money and that's lost, or it's all about kind of growing this thing. And yeah, it was no, through no fault of their own, but it was then them not being able to turn around and go, oh, yeah, I feel yeah, it sucks at the moment, but you can power through, or like here, like let me try and help you. It then obviously then sends you into the negative thought process of it, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I am making a mistake in doing this. Maybe this is a waste of time. Maybe I should be doing something different. So yeah, it's definitely important to have people around you that have either been in the same boat or have that same kind of mentality of it.
Definitely. So what habits or practices have helped you to protect your mental well-being while obviously juggling all of these businesses, all the responsibility, all the pressure and the demands of leadership because people are looking up to you if you're in that position. How have you dealt with it?
So I would say one of my biggest game changers was to try and structure the chaos. So, and I swear by it, it's lists, writing a list. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't work off of a computer list and like a list, or it has to be a handwritten. I literally have next to me, I'll show you here. Here's my notepad of lists that I need, of jobs that I need to get done today. I have to write it out and then I have to tick it off. That just means that I can just, because the problem I have, and probably a lot of people have, is that ideas are we whizzing around my head all the time. And I'll be thinking of, okay, I need to create a customer contract. But whilst I'm creating that contract, another idea is pinging off that's then distracting me from that. So I can't focus on that fully. So I find if I write a list, I can at least distill. So I can write, okay, create customer contract, that's one. And then as I'm doing that, oh, here's an idea, right? Okay, yes, I need to do whatever, buy a coffee machine. And then that literally stops the chaos. And then the other big important thing is taking time. So I am a big believer that if I've been sat at my desk for too long, then I will get up and I will just go and have a walk outside, walk around the block, or I'll go and sit on the sofa at work. Just have a kind of no screen time, just let's just take 5, 10 minutes and sort of detach
Yeah.
from it.
Yep. Yep. That's really important. I think as well that you said there the physical list, actually writing it out, it does something to my brain. It like tickles a part of my brain when I tick it off. I'm like, yes. And at the end of the day, you can come back and you look at everything that you've achieved. You can physically see it and you can see, yeah, I've done that, and you feel good about it. And that's really important. And as well, the taking breaks. I'm a huge advocate of, if I'm trying to do something and I just can't focus, like you, I'll get up, I'll go for a walk. I might even go to the gym. It doesn't have to be long, a 20-minute session, come back, and I feel like I've regained that almost mental clarity. I've cleared my mind and I can then refocus, really focus on what I'm doing. And that is key as well for me. But there's some brilliant, brilliant ideas actually.
Yeah. The other good thing is peer-to-peer conversations. So having a conversation, because again, when you kind of realizing that you're navigating the stress, the doubt, and the pressure, it can be very reassuring. And I've done it to literally just go and have a chat with someone. I think from a personal level, especially sort of working at Signal, we kind of distilled this new practice into Signal, which is obviously everyone that you work with has different boundaries. And my way of working is if I have a set plan, if I go today, I am going to get this done. And then someone comes in and goes, oh, I need this done right now, urgently, or I need and then it throws me off. and I go into a massive spiral because then I'm like, no, I'd allotted this was what I was doing today, and now that's come in and that's thrown me. So we have kind of implemented that there are clear boundaries. There is a case of, okay, you can ask someone, and the response is going to be, that's not a problem. I can possibly look at that for you. How urgent is it? Is it? And the frame we say, is anyone going to die? Because if the answer is no, no, if you don't send that email, then 12 people are going to die. I doubt that very much. That can wait until after I kind of finish my thing. And then implementing in an option that the team are open. So when we come in, if I'm having a bad day or if Claire, who I work with, is having a bad day, we literally just say, I'm having a bit of an off day today. And then that allows us to either, it depending on then sort of our mood, if I come in and say I'm having an off day, Claire can then either go, okay, do you want to talk about it? And I can go, no, I'm not really in the mood to talk about it. But then my negative mood won't affect her because obviously you have it. If you're around someone that's in a negative space, then they become almost like a emotional hoover, and then everyone around them then starts feeling negative. So if least I can then turn around and say that, and then Claire's not going to get affected by me being in a bad mood. But then it also opens up to the fact that she could then turn around and go, okay, well, if you do want to talk about it, what's up? And then I can talk about it without that judgment and that going on. So that's
So that, like you said, them options are always open. The team are flexible, ready to help if help's needed, support, jump in. That's something that's really key, actually.
yes. And then the last thing, sorry to go on. The last thing that I have learned is basically to get rid of the myth that I have all the answers. So I don't have all the answers. Funnily enough, don't tell anyone I said that, but I don't have all the answers. So being able to delegate and trust that someone is going to do anything, that really instantly relieves the pressure off of me. If I don't have to be the one that does all the tasks because I'm the only one that can do them because no one else knows how to do it, then all I'm doing is I'm just adding more and more and more and more onto my workload when actually this task, I mean, is it send an email? Anyone can send an email. It's ticking this off on a spreadsheet. That's fine. Why? The moment I kind of was able to release the control from it and go, no, they're out into the world now. Instant pressure, release, gone off the shoulders. Why weigh yourself down with stuff? You don't know everything. So give it to someone that does. And I think that was a real big one.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. That's something I'm in the process of.
It's hard. It is hard to give up control. It really is.
Oh, for sure. Tell me about it. But yeah, I'll get there.
Eventually, it'll happen.
Exactly. But yeah, no, just that brilliant points there that can definitely be implemented. And the thing is, these are quite, I say this, quite simple things. It's nothing overly complicated. It's just setting the boundaries, kind of having a list, taking breaks, and communicating. That's what it comes down.
It literally is that simple, and it is crazy because it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be this big thing. I mean, taking every hour, take a 5 minute break and walk outside, that is going to change your mentality so much. I mean, being outside in nature, that's going to release endorphins and serotonin into your brain, which is then going to make you feel better. I mean, these are all very, very simple things that people just don't do because they get that kind of tunnel vision and I'm focused in and they're bogged down in everything. But yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah, it really is. So just to, I guess, wrap things up then, what message would you share with other business owners or men who are struggling silently right now?
So the biggest one is that so you're not alone, even if it feels like it. So I've got some stats here, so I'm going to read you some stats. So when it comes to business, the truth is that most owners will struggle and have a low point whilst running a business. So the stats are around 72% of entrepreneurs experience mental health challenges. So that's huge. That's 72% of businesses. Now, out of all the businesses, half have considered giving up their business because of stress. So, and we've all been there. So that tells you that this isn't a rare thing. Like it is real and it is happening quietly around us. Another stat, so roughly 1 in 3 small business owners say their mental health has taken a hit from the pressures of running a business. So a third of all businesses out there have said that they have been mentally affected by the stresses of running a business. The long hours, financial uncertainty, staffing issues, all of it, it adds up. But over and then here, so over half of those admit that they don't have anyone to talk to about stress. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, that
It
is.
really is. Like the silence is dangerous. This is what people don't understand. The silence is dangerous
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be that way. So my view is struggling doesn't make you weak. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it loud. Struggling does not make you weak. It makes you human. And in fact, I think there's a real strength in turning around to saying someone, this is hard and asking for support. I think that is where the real strength actually is. And that your success in business, just for the business owners here, your success doesn't have to be about profits and growth. Like, don't tie, if my business isn't making profits, then I'm failing and therefore I'm a failure. And then the downward spiral begins. Like, business is about building sort of a life, a business that you want. We're actually going to start a podcast up soon, which talks to business owners about what their idea of success is, because you have the people that think a six-figure business is I'm turning in 10 million pounds a year in profit and everything is that's what success is. But then you have, let's go to the other end of that. You have, let's say, for example, a mum who's had kids, but the kids have gone to school. So she's now started up a business just to do in the afternoons while the kids are not there, that gives her a living so that she can afford to do things, but she's not stressed. She's not making 10 million pounds a year, but she's covering all her bills, her rent. She's got the lifestyle business that she wants. That's success. This is the problem. So we're going to talk about that, because by detaching what people deem is this a successful business is this, then that also means that we can then sort of separate the mentality and the emotionality from it, so that people actually enjoy so running the business and that. So I think my message would be for this is to find people that you can talk to, whether it be a business community, in your personal life, friends, family, but people that you can actually open up to. Create a space that you can talk to them in. And then this is the important one: be brave enough to then lean on other people. Like, you don't have to carry this alone. Be brave, open up, and you'll find that if you open up, other people will open up. And that's how we get rid of the silence.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I also absolutely love the podcast idea. You just said I'll definitely be listening. Can't wait.
Trademark, TM copyright.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that. And you're absolutely right there. No one's alone in this struggle, as you've said there from your statistics. It's actually quite common, more common than we think. And this also highlights an area. If you have got friends or people around you who are business owners, who even if you don't think they're struggling, reach out to them, ask them how they're doing, offer that support, talk to them, because it can be isolating, it can be quite lonely. But when they realize that actually there are people around them who care about how they feel and that their value isn't attached to how successful their business is, that can be freeing in a way. It really can be.
Oh God, 100%. The problem I think that a lot of people have is it's the smallest things that become, unfortunately, the phrase making a mountain out of a molehill, but it'll be the smallest little thing that just sits in your head and it niggles and it grows and it grows and it gets bigger. And then before you know it, it's the end of the world and everything's thingying. And I've had it. I've had moments where people are like, "What's actually wrong?" And I go, "Oh, well, it's this." And then you're like, "Okay, well, now I've actually said it out loud. I don't even know what the problem was here." But obviously, without saying it in my head, it's still this massive, massive thing. So yeah, 100%. It's so important to speak. Just, hi, how are you doing today? what's going on? What's up with you? Simple things literally takes no effort. This
Yes.
is it. It is such a minimal effort task that people can do that can provide so much. If everyone today went, okay, I'm going to call one person that I've not spoken to in a while and ask how they're doing, you do that every day. My God,
Yeah.
problem solved. Done. Easy.
Pretty much. No, yeah, I do agree with you. Um, but yeah, thank you so much, Gareth. It's been a very insightful conversation. I loved all the points that you brought out. I'm sure, and the hope is that it will help someone out there as well, because it's helped me even just by having this conversation. Yeah, it's been really good having you here. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me and sort of giving me a space to sort of share my opinions. Like you say, if one person listens to this and it changes the way that their view, I count this as a win. Hopefully, there'll be millions and millions and we'll go viral and we'll change the world. But if one person listens to this and thinks, okay, I am that person, okay, I understand and makes a change, then happy days.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.